progressive musicians, and Sound Espressivo are hosting live auditions for our Laureate Gala at Carnegie Hall this summer. Auditions are open to soloists, composers, small and large ensembles. You can also audition for an opportunity to perform a concerto with the New York Chamber Players Orchestra. Don't miss your opportunity to receive a professional video recording of your performance on this world-renowned stage.
Daniel, welcome to Carnegie Hall and the Weill Recital Hall, and we're going to talk with you just a little bit during the stream before you come out and perform. Tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from.
Well, yes, so my name's Daniel Kuzuhara. I started when I was 5 years old. I've studied under various different teachers in the Madison area, Karen Hill, Julie Chang. I've mostly been studying like classical piano, although I've kind of tried other genres, just dipped my toes here and there, but then went to Laureates University for my undergraduate in piano performance, for my bachelor's, studying under Professor Anthony Padilla, and then went over to Indiana University Jacobs School for my graduate studies for my master's, studying under Professor Karen Shaw, and then after that, started teaching my own piano studio, also try to keep my performances going through locally mostly. And then was fortunate to have more active events lately to be able to travel multiple different places and continue my performance career going through recently Vienna, Toronto, and even New York once as well last year. So,
where did you perform in Vienna?
In Vienna, I performed at Musikverein, the Glass Hall. Yeah.
A recital?
Yes, a recital, part of a winter's recital.
Right in the Musikverein.
Yes, right at the Musikverein. I know, I was so excited about that one. Vienna's so amazing. So.
What did you perform? What are some of the pieces you played?
I just performed one. It was a study by Ettore Pozzoli, his Studi di Medi Difficoltà A minor, number 16. It's a nice little short, beautiful 2-minute etude, just really gorgeous. Really fortunate.
So playing at the Musikverein, you were part of a larger program, obviously. It was a 2-minute piece.
Yes.
Yeah. But how did you get selected for that?
It was part of a different event that I was selected in a competition that I had entered. So I've been doing a lot of that recently and trying to just get more exposure, get my name out there, get as much experience as I can. And I've been very fortunate with various events like that one, and including this one here, which I feel very fortunate for. I'm really excited for tonight as well.
And what are your favorite parts of the repertoire? I mean, the piano is so vast, going from pre-Baroque and Bach through contemporary music. What parts of the repertoire do you favor, or do you specialize in, if any?
Yeah, I do have a lot of appreciation for so many of the different genres, like the Impressionist, some of the early classical, Mozart, Haydn, but what I consider my specialty and what I mostly enjoy are the romantic 19th century things from the Tchaikovsky, Brahms, Chopin Liszt. That's been a lot of what I've been studying right now, is that, including what I'm performing tonight, which is a Liszt Orage from the Swiss Years of Pilgrimage, year number 1. And there's just something about it, the great dramatic effects and the big contrast in the emotions evoked and the different colors and touch required. It's just, to me, so exciting to, kind of try to bring that to life, and just really, it's very mesmerizing. It has a lot of that wow factor too, for myself, and maybe hopefully for the audience as well. Yeah. But it's just so much fun.
That's one of my favorite movements of the Beethoven, all in all. James, to you.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. I toured with that sonata. Oh gosh, it seems like yesterday, but it was a little while ago. And I got to play that all through France and Europe, and it was a really fun experience learning that. And it was when I had played it, it was actually my first mid-Beethoven style sonata that I had played, and it was just it's one of the simplest sounding sonatas, but I mean, all pianists sitting here right now know that it's not. And all those repeated motives, and where it sounds like it's starting over and over again, can get really tough on the memory sometimes. You just have one wrong note and you're a completely different key. I'll tell you a funny story quick. I had a friend in college who played Beethoven 81A, and he started the opening, and when it went into the B section, he accidentally put down a wrong note and went straight to the coda without even stopping. Thing was done. It was done in like 3 minutes. It's very easy to do, but you didn't do that. You got through it, memorized and well, and kudos to you. I'm just remembering this now, but it's definitely something that we can always laugh about off the stage and behind the scenes, and at parties. But
on the stage, that can be a really terrifying experience.
Yes, I did it too in Brahms' first sonata once. I skipped the whole middle section, and it was an informal performance, but it was still being recorded, and hopefully someone threw that video in the trash. But anyway, so yeah, mid Beethoven is tough to interpret, and I did discover that through learning that piece, and even years after playing it again and finding new ways to interpret, with all the repeated motives, all those da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, 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 ba-da, and it's like, where do you go with it, and what's too much and what's not enough? And I feel like there needs to be more of a middle ground of that longer shape, because it's so easy to play this piece in bits. Da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, 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 da-da-da-dum, da-da, and yours wasn't that bad, but I'm just saying for example. But the longer line, da-da-da-dum, 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 ba-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, 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 and then it starts unfolding a little bit, and finding different ways to make that happen with different key relationships. Not easy. I found myself many times just blocking chords through the left hand and playing the right over it just to help feel those sonorities. But I feel like there's a lot of shaping that could be done in that way too. Also, pedaling can help. Your pedaling doesn't have to be as clean as it would be for earlier Beethoven. This is the beginning. I think it's like the second sonata of the mid-range series, just portion of Beethoven's life. But you can start exploring a little bit more quasi-romantic pedaling, just a little bit more, and I think that that's going to also help with your dynamic range and your phrase shaping throughout, because there's just so much life to this, but interpreting it is difficult, especially after coming out of that lyrical schmaltzy second movement, which I'm sure you've worked on or you've dabbled with a little bit. But so I would just like to hear a lot more on that front. The actual playing and the notes of itself and the memorization was great. So I look forward to hearing you in the second tier. Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel.
Of everything you just mentioned, I would, for me, one of my favorite pieces are the light piano pieces of Brahms.
Oh yes, definitely. something on my wish list is the Opus 118 set, I believe. And there's even the Opus 117 or 119 set, and there's also just so many great things with Brahms altogether. I played his quintet, the F minor one, at Lawrence University as part of a undergraduate study, and it was so much fun just to collaborate with some great musicians at Lawrence, but then also to just have that experience of Brahms, because it's such a great, grand, mature work, and just so much fun to play.
Have you played any of his 2 concertos?
I have not yet. Concerti has been something that has, again, been on my gigantic wish list, and I've been hoping to do more concerti at some point in the future. I haven't done one in a few years, and then, but definitely hearing the rehearsals last night from some of the people that were rehearsing with the New York Chamber, I believe it was, is really inspiring me to want to get back into the Brahms concerti and the maybe try out some of the Chopin.
Have you had a chance, when giving recitals to, or even performing for younger people, a chance to talk about a piece before you played it and maybe play excerpts from it and just show how the piece is constructed and what ideas you have about it, and then performing the piece? Have you done much of that?
I've done some of that, not necessarily in the formal setting. Sometimes it is on the more informal setting, or if it is for students, or just like I have studio recitals, and sometimes I will talk about my piece just a little bit. So it's the recital for my students, but then I also like to play, and sometimes I'll talk about the piece if it calls for it. And I especially, I do really enjoy playing for my students, and just for children, especially when they have that like appreciation and curiosity for, music still, and kind of still learning how vast and diverse music can be. But I'm actually giving a lecture recital in a couple months as well for elderly care facility members, and it'll be really exciting too, just on the opposite spectrum, but still like very similar on the high appreciation, people that want to be there, that can listen and kind of talk about what I've learned history-wise, and then also just the music that I enjoy playing.
So the lecture recital that you have coming up, you just talked about, what piece is it, and how will you present it?
It'll be similar to the way the doctoral candidates would have to do their lecture recitals, in the form of a 50-minute presentation, 25 minutes of talking about various composers. So I'll be doing various composers, probably Mozart, Beethoven, and Chopin are the ones that I'll be talking about, and just some of the better-known classical composers, as some of the people I'll be presenting towards might have more of an in-depth knowledge, and some may just have a more enthusiasm level, but a less depth and knowledge for that. But I've been really enjoying kind of putting that together, and then 25 minutes of a performance just kind of mixed in with talking about the history of the composer, about the piece, maybe some characteristics of that, each composer's style. And so, but it's been a really different experience. It's not something I've done quite at that length before, but it's really exciting. And
I find that classical music fans, people who already know the pieces, and you don't have to teach them the very basics of the piece, really want to know more about how a piece is constructed and what goes into it, and how the architecture of the piece is. And again, these are people who go to concerts regularly, but they just sort of really love hearing an artist tell them more about the piece, and they gain a greater appreciation for it. So I would encourage anyone who has to do more of that. It's just a way to stand out, I think, as a musician.
Oh, I completely agree. It's, especially with more and more music being out there outside the classical world, that part of what I strive to do is just to show that classical music is still relevant. It still has its place in our society, and there's definitely something to be appreciated here, even though it is music from a long time ago in comparison to everything else that's out there right now. It's really something to be appreciated, and we should try to get as many people to kind of understand but also appreciate classical music as a whole, and maybe try to, go after some of the misconceptions and help people understand. And that's part of what I try to do for my students and for anybody that I come across.
I created, when I was working at a classical station in Chicago, we didn't broadcast them, but I called it Immersion Days. Mm-hmm. And we would have 30 or 40 or 50 people pay to come to a big studio. And we did one topic for 7 or 8 hours. And one of them was the history of the keyboard. And I got a very gifted pianist from Chicago, we set up 5 pianos, from a forte piano to a Steinway Grand, and he ran through the whole history of the development of the keyboard, and people really were hanging on every word. I remember he started his lecture with a little talk, and then he kept talking, and he had this way of, and about 20 minutes go by, and I'm in the back sort of pacing, and 25, he hasn't played a note, and I didn't know what to do, until I realized that everybody was hanging on every word he was saying. I let him go. So he went for 45 minutes and then started playing some Couperin, and he was off. But people just have a thirst to know more about music. Yeah. So I encourage you to do more of that.
Yes.
And again, the piece you're playing tonight?
It is called Orage, which translates to The Storm, by Franz Liszt from the Swiss Years of Pilgrimage.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Can't wait to hear you play it, and I wish you the best as you keep your career going.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
progressive musicians and sound espressivo are hosting live auditions for our Laureate Gala at Carnegie Hall this summer. Auditions are open to soloists, composers, small and large ensembles. You can also audition for an opportunity to perform a concerto with the New York Chamber Players Orchestra. Don't miss your opportunity to receive a professional video recording of your performance on this world-renowned stage.